what I'm grateful for, first of all, I'm grateful for living in the greatest country that ever existed on this earth, particularly the country as it was constructed by the founders, simply because I'm a student of history, and I am convinced that one of the biggest flaws that left-wing thinking has is the idea that man is fundamentally good, and all we have to do is, and that communism was the same thing. We have to take the shackles away from them. It's the circumstances, and I know for a fact when you look at history and there's so much anecdotal evidence that we all have the seed of evil in us. Many of us, and the majority of us, deal with it very well. But it turns out in history, the ruling people were mostly evil. And so the Constitution is constructed in such a way to manage that evil, not eradicate it, manage it by the separation of powers. And the whole idea that all men are created evil and have these inalienable rights, that appeals to me that appeals to my anti-authoritarianism and my absolute disgust with collectivism. We are not getting the rights from the above. We are not getting the rights from the law. The law actually can take rights away from us. Some of them are necessary to be taken away, such as to get the funds to defend the country and so forth. But most of the laws that we have in this country are taking rights away from us. So it is what it is. But
how did you come to the conclusion, or what convinced you of the validity and utility of the doctrine of inalienable rights? Because that's certainly not a hypothesis associated with communist utopianism, for example. Why did you come to that conclusion?
That's a good leading question because I became a Christian, and it was a pretty slow progress. I became a deist first because after I started thinking about and getting exposed to thinkers like C.S. Lewis, I realized that my atheism was an idiotic belief system. To just believe that the universe just exploded out of nothing and then ordered itself in a way that we have all this complexity that makes perfectly no sense. And let's assume even it was already there. It violates the third law of thermodynamics when a closed system, which the universe is ultimately a closed system, will tend towards disorder. So where does the order come from? So there was a logic behind me becoming a deist, and then the love word came into play again. I was evangelized by a woman that I hired, but I didn't become a Christian because I wanted to marry her. She opened my eyes to the Bible, and I started. The first time she quoted me something out of the Bible, I said, "Wait a minute! This is the most widely read book in the history of mankind, with no close second, and I don't know anything about it." Mm-hmm. So we did some Bible study, and then she invited me to church. And at that time, the love word came back into play. I was in a really, really bad divorce with the woman that I had married and that had the daughter that I was in love with. She went mentally ill, and it was a lengthy divorce. And I was the only time in my life I was actually depressed. And this young lady who I secretly courted, I was in love with her. She didn't know that. She invited me to the church. And as it happens so often, when you go to church and you listen to the pastor, you know he was talking to you because he was talking about the love of God.
So why do you think, okay, so what do you make of love then? You said that the first time it really transformed you was a consequence of whatever manifested itself to you in your daughter. And the effect of love on your life was, what would you say? It was outside of the domain of mere rationality. And so what do you make of the transforming power of that love? And how does that fit into your intellectual apprehension?
Love to me is the strongest emotion that humans can have, and we are ultimately emotional beings. So when they say love conquers all, I have proof. And as I embraced the faith, and as I realized what God did for us, I've become a real loving person. Loving even the ones that you don't like, because the love is something that says something about yourself. If you can love the unlikable, that makes you whole, so to speak. And you know the love of the life of Jesus is so phenomenal. The way I would like to be living and be seen. At least I'm trying to get to that point, and I think I've traveled a long way. And one of the things that made a huge difference in my life the last year, coming to Texas and being around a lot of loving, wonderful people and great churches that are not afraid to talk about what's going on in society these days. Not cowardly like many others that I've visited.